fevered spring.
A Wanda Winnett Tick Tale.
Chapter 11. Grace Springs.
One morning, Wanda did not wake early. For once, she allowed the light to reach her. Before she opened her eyes, it slipped through the window in a thin, even band, not sharp, not dim, balanced. Isaac returned with the dawn that morning. He stood at the gate at the end of the path, listening to the quiet hum that seemed to live inside the little abode, before voices rose to meet the day. He turned his head when he saw Wanda come out onto the porch with her tea.
"It's that day,"
he said, not with urgency, with recognition. Wanda nearly dropped her cup and saucer, but managed to place them on the rail before rushing to greet him. With a long, warm hug, he dropped his bags and hugged her back. They spoke of many things: the bridge, the debates, the image of Janine. They discussed President Lemon and the Moore Lemon class and the long years that had kept them apart. The air held neither chill nor heat. The equinox, equal parts light and shadow. Isaac was finally home. They walked toward the Capitol with others, though no one had arranged to meet at a particular hour. People seemed to arrive, as if drawn by the same quiet understanding. Lantern poles still stood from previous gatherings. The grass bore the flattened memory of where crowds had sat, night after night. Isaac felt the weight of the folded parchment letter inside his coat because he was responsible for it, because he had volunteered to carry it for Edith, Tara, Tick. Wanda carried nothing in her hands. She preferred her hands free, free to greet, free to steady, free to sign. The covenant was read aloud again, not by one voice, by many. Each article passed from speaker to speaker. Equal voice in elections. No dynasties of wealth or power. Fair contribution to the commons. Wanda listened to the words as though hearing them for the first time, though she had helped shape their phrasing over the past months in small rooms with ink that smudged and candles that frequently burned low. Isaac watched the faces in the crowd. Business people, entertainers, public servants, people even brought their pets. No one looked electrified. They looked attentive. That steadiness moved him more than any roar could have. When it was the couple's turn to sign, they stepped forward together at first. Isaac in his military garb, and Wanda in her shawl. The Good Neighbors campaign was born out of a single photograph captured in that moment. Wanda went ahead. The table was plain wood, the inkwell nearly empty. She dipped the pen and paused, not from doubt, but in awareness. She thought of her mother, mixing paints at dawn. She thought of the birds, rebuilding their nest. She thought of the translucent boy who had once stood in her garden and then vanished. She sighed. Her hand did not tremble. Isaac stepped forward next. He did not hesitate. He signed beside her name, though not on the same line. The petition did not require adjacency to show shared intention. When he stepped back, their shoulders brushed. That small contact steadied them both. In that moment, Isaac took the folded parchment from his pocket and turned to Wanda.
Your mother entrusted this letter to my care many years ago, and my captain made me promise to bring it back to you when I finally made it home.
His eyes shifted downwards, betraying an emotional current he couldn't hide. Wanda slowly took the paper, and with steady hands, she unfolded it. In order to form a more perfect union. Wanda read for a moment, but looked up at Isaac.
She started it.
He said,
Started what?
Wanda asked, bewildered and a little breathless. Isaac smiled and reached down to flip over the last page of the letter, prominently at the top, in her mother's familiar script, read, The Heaven-Light Covenant, a proposal for a big, bipartisan bill. Wanda blinked through tears as she read through the unique sets of handwriting that had been accrued on the sheets. Some notes had been marked out and replaced. 13 sections had been painstakingly mapped out and discussed through haze to home. Wanda swallowed hard as she managed to ask.
She started the covenant?
Isaac smiled warmly and nodded once.
But it took all of us to finish it.
Wanda laughed and cried at the same time, and hugged Isaac more than once.
Then she's here with us.
Wanda said, gazing in awe at the neat penmanship she still found scrawled on papers here and there around Tick Cottage. Festive banners had been hung, food was arranged on long tables, and a microphone was affixed to an ornate podium on the stage. The space filled with smiling faces, and the crowd even spilled out, filling the streets for blocks round. At 10 a.m., Elodie Flame stepped up to the podium. First, she thanked the many people in attendance and asked for a moment of silence for all who were not among the survivors. Then she sang a song that had become something of an anthem for the Good Neighbors movement. God bless the broken child who never had a chance. The notes lingered in the air. Next, the 13 sections of the covenant were read aloud once more. This was the reason for the Opus March. People gathered from all across the country to sign this destiny-altering petition. Then Elodie welcomed Wanda to the podium to share a special surprise that only Wanda and Mr. Rood had known about. Wanda had witnessed a design in one of her dreams of impact. First, she saw Jenny again. She was standing motionless on an island just large enough to hold her, in the middle of the icy waters that she had been thrown into. The bridge loomed overhead, cold, hulking, and silent. Wanda could see her breath in the air. Jenny held her beloved blanket in the bend of her left arm, and her right thumb was in her mouth. Wanda smiled, feeling a rush of affection for her long-lost friend. The blanket started lifting at a corner, as if being taken by an unseen hand. Jenny dropped her arms to her sides as the blanket gently lifted and drifted slowly across the freezing water. Between them, as if it had a life of its own and was experiencing freedom for the first time. Wanda reached up to accept it as the enchanted cloth softly floated down to greet her. She immediately brought it to her cheek, closing her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, she was in her sewing room, back on Winnett Lane. She looked down, and what had been Jenny's blanket was now a beautiful flag. The background was baby blue, and there was a baby red spiral with 5 loops. Wanda's breath caught, and tears filled her eyes when she saw 13 stars scattered across the design. They were glowing baby peach, just like the blanket. When she awoke, Wanda had gotten to work right away, making the dream's vision a reality. Mr. Rood was let in on the secret project when he had been over to share a meal. Upon learning of the dream and of the stars Wanda had seen, he offered to contribute something precious, a piece of the blanket that he had kept when the rest was buried with his little girl. Wanda accepted reverently and used the threads to form the stars of the first flag of the United States of Heaven Light. Now, standing at the podium, Wanda revealed for the first time the new flag of a nation. People cheered and shed tears of joy as the final signatures were added to the covenant petition, and the flag was raised high above the square. As the evening progressed, memories were shared and plans were made. Finally, all of the suffering could be assigned reasons to some extent. All the sleepless nights of all the everyday warriors for truth, justice, and freedom could finally be reflected upon with a calm clarity. Peace was made widely, inwardly, and outwardly at last. President Lemon did not appear publicly the day of the Opus March culmination. He was not present for any part of the signing of the petition. Word had already spread of his retreat from certain responsibilities of investigations, no longer easily silenced of voices once in unquestioning alignment with him, speaking more carefully now. The Moore Lemon class had grown quieter. It had not vanished. It was just quieter. The federal agent who attacked Jenny Rood had testified weeks earlier. His voice had carried neither defiance nor defense. Wanda had not attended that proceeding. She chose to plant saplings instead. Isaac read the transcript by lantern light and folded it away without comment. Some acts cannot be undone, but they can be named. Naming changes the air. No one knew for sure what became of President Lemon or many of his associates. After he was removed from government position, courts across the world transferred him around for the doling out of consequences after accountability had been served to him in heaven light. He was last known to have been in a prison in a poverty-stricken place, where he had facilitated atrocities as president. Local records were destroyed during civic unrest, triggered by his presence. Most people assumed that, especially considering his notoriously frail condition, he passed away. Amidst the chaos, rumors persisted, but only ever quietly. As the final signatures were collected, the crowd did not surge, it settled. Children began chasing one another near the steps. Vendors reopened storefronts that had closed during the reading and main events. Someone started humming a tune that sounded like something Elodie Flame might carry on a warmer evening. Wanda looked at Isaac.
Do you feel that?
She asked. He did not answer immediately. He searched himself, as though expecting some grand sensation. There wasn't one.
I feel balanced.
He said. She smiled.
Yes.
Balanced. They walked home slowly. They had no escorts. There were no banners along the road. Neighbors spoke of practical things. Who would serve on the truth councils? How to ensure transparent records? How to protect farmers from consolidation? The covenant did not end conversation. It began maintenance. Isaac felt the familiar warmth of Wanda's hand slipping into his, not for display, for contact. The Good Neighbors campaign had never belonged solely to them, but it had begun, in a way, with these two young people choosing not to stand on opposite sides of a line, choosing instead to look at one another and say, "Let's begin here." That evening, as light and dark folded evenly into one another, Wanda stood on the porch and watched the horizon. Ernest settled beside her, feathers fluffed. Isaac leaned against the railing. The sky held no spectacle, just balance. In the quiet, Wanda thought of the baby peach spiral. Above her childhood bed, 5 loops, extending outward, returning inward, not a crown, an anchor. The fever had surely not disappeared from the world, but it no longer ruled the air in heaven light. And that was enough for one era.